Hello students, we are learning the points development of the male gametophytes. It means androecium. Androecium, it is the male gametophytes. Development of the anther, stamens, and the stamens are divided into three parts: filaments, connective, anther. Last lectures we have also seen in a development of the anther. At the young stage, anthers are developed. And this video will be study on a TS of anther, the transverse section of the anther, in between anther. Internally, the anther shows, or the anthers are divided into two parts. First, it is the anther ball, and second, it is the pollen sac. One lobe of the anther, it is the two pollen sac, and two lobe of the pollen anthers are present the four pollen sacs. It is also known as the tetrad conditions. In each lobe, two elongated pollen sacs are longitudinally, like this. It is the bilobe anthers. In each lobe, there are present the two pollen sacs by longitudinally arrangements. एका लोबमध्ये दोन पोलन सॅक आहेत. जर तुमचा बायलोब अँथर्स असेल तर त्याच्यामध्ये 4 पोलन सॅक्स अरेंजमेंट्स असतील. म्हणजेच काय आहे, अँथर्स आर डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स. फर्स्ट इट इज द anther wall, the protecting covering layers, and second it is the pollen sac. In between pollen sac, development of the microspore or pollen grain. Okay, these two types. Then now seen in anther wall. It is the outermost covering layer of the anther. It is the protecting covering layers. It is also called as the anther wall. It consists of 4 layers from periphery to center, like this. It is consists of the anther wall, 4 layers. It is the outermost layer to center. These are present the 4 layers. These 4 layers, it is the first outermost layer, it is the epidermis. It is the second single layer, this layer. It is called as the endotheciums. Third innermost layers, 2 to 3 layers are present. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 to 3 layers are present. Middle layer, it is the protective layer. And fourth innermost layer, like these are the, it is the fourth innermost layer. It is called as the tapetum. Like these 4 layers from periphery to center as epidermis, endotheciums, middle layers, and tapetums. Now these 4 layers are studied in details. First, it is the epidermis layer. Epidermis. Epidermis. Epi means above, outermost. Dermis means layer. Outermost layer, it is called as the epidermis. This, it is the single layers. These are the outer protecting covering layers. It is called as the epidermis. It is the outermost single layer, protective in function, and made up of the parenchymatose cells. It is developed by parenchymatose cells. And main function of these layer, protections, the inner walls. Most of the in pollen sac develop the microspore or pollen grain, male gametes. They have matured to protect this layer, epidermis. It is the single layer, protective in function, and it is made up by parenchyma cells. Okay. Then next, endotheciums. It is the single layer present below the epidermis. It is the second outermost, innermost layer below the epidermis. Like this, it is the single layer. It is the single layer, like this. It is the single layer, second innermost layer. It is called as the endotheciums. Okay. Cells are large and develop fibrous thickening of alpha cellulose on their inner and radial walls. These cells, these endotheciums are developed fibrous thickening of alpha cellulose in between inner or radial cells. It is presents the nutritive layers. It is also known as the fibrous layer. Most of the fibers are present. Like this, at the presence, sorry. It is the second, this, it is also known as the fibrous layer. In the shallow groove present between two microsporangia of an anther lobe, the hypodermal cells laying at the level of endothecium remains the thin wall. In development of the anther, like this, hypodermal cells divides to convert in archporial cell, and archporial cells divide mitotically produce the two cells. First is the primary parietal cells and second it is the sporogenous cell. Primary parietal cells are develop the protective layer. It is the endothecium, middle layer and tapetum. These are developed by the hypodermal cells. It is the complete thin layers are also developed like this. Okay. And level of endothecius remains the thin wall. This thin wall cell from the main function, the stomium or line of the dehiscence. This time, म्हणजे ज्या वेळेस अँथर मॅच्युअर होईल, अँथर मॅच्युअर झाल्यानंतर त्याच्यामध्ये पोलन ग्रेन डेव्हलप झालेले असतील, त्यावेळेस एंडोथेशियम्स line of dehiscence suddenly break the wall and pollen grain or male gametes are spread to the outer sides. It is also known as the stomium. म्हणजे suddenly break होणार आहे or line of dehiscence break होणार आहे. त्याच्यासाठी ह्या एंडोथेशियमची वॉल जी आहे थिन वॉल आहे. कारण की अँथर डेव्हलप झाल्यानंतर मॅच्युअर झाल्यानंतर ही ब्रेक होणार आहे. It is also known as the stomium or line of dehiscence. It is the hygroscopic in natures and helps in a dehiscence of the hygroscopic natures आहे. आणि अँथर मॅच्युअर झाल्यानंतर डेहिसेन्स होणार आहे, ब्रेकडाऊन होणार आहे आणि पोलन ग्रेन आर सडनली remove the outer sides. These layers, endotheciums, developed by the hypodermal cells, or it is also known as the fibrous layers because it is present thickening of alpha cellulose. Okay. Then middle layer. It is the third innermost protecting covering layer. Middle layers. 2 to 3 layers of parenchyma cells presents below the endotheciums are called as the middle layer. It is the third layer. First, epidermis, second, endothecium, and third, it is the 2 to 3 layer presents to the center These layers are called as the middle layer. It is developed by parenchyma cells. And main function of this middle layer, it is also, these middle layers are also called as the nutritive layers because they are provided to the nourishment food to the sporogenous cells. Sporogenous cells, these sporogenous cells divides meiotically to produce the 4 haploid pollen grain. These developments of the sporogenous cells, they have also provide the energy. त्या स्पोरोजिनस सेलला म्हणजे मायक्रोस्पोर मदर सेलला डेव्हलपमेंटसाठी एनर्जी प्रोव्हाइड करण्याचं काम मिडल लेअर करते. And hence it is also called as the nutritive layers because they have also provided to the energy in sporogenous cells. And after they develop the pollen grains or sporogenous cells, they have stopped the provide nourishment food, and these middle layer are also usually degenerate. ज्यानंतर एकदा न्यूट्रेटिव्ह लेयर्सने पोलन ग्रेन डेव्हलपमेंट होण्यासाठी जी एनर्जी प्रोव्हाइड करणार आहे ती एनर्जी प्रोव्हाइड करण्यात झाल्यानंतर हा स्टॉप करणार आहे आणि त्याच्यानंतर ह्या सगळ्या सेल्स आहेत मिडल लेअरच्या डिजनरेट होत आहेत, रिमूव्ह होत आहेत, कारण की त्यांचा रोल संपला. दे आर ऑल्सो न्यूट्रिटिव्ह लेअर. कोणाला? ह्या स्पोरोजिनस सेल्स आहेत. पोलन सॅक मध्ये ज्या पोरोजिनस सेल्स आहेत त्यांना काय करणार आहे? नरिशमेंट फूड प्रोव्हाइड करणार आहे. आफ्टर they are also degenerate these layer. It is also called as the middle layer or nutritive layers. Okay, then next, last anther wall or protective layer, 4th numbers, tapetum. It is the single layer or innermost layer which surround each pollen sac. It is the innermost protecting covering layer which is surround to the pollen sac. It is the single layer. It is called as the tapetum. It is also known as the nutritive layer of the anther. Cell become large and multinucleated. And it is the special cells which is provided to the special proteins. Like secretions of the enzyme like calase and hormones like indole, acetic acids, they are also provided to the sporogenous cells. Because the sporogenous cells are develop the male gametes. It means microspore or pollen grains. म्हणजे पोलन ग्रेन डेव्हलप झाल्यानंतर त्याला एक स्पेशल न्यूट्रिशन्स प्रोव्हाइड करणार आहे, ती हे टॅपेटम प्रोव्हाइड करणार आहे. एन्झाइम्स, हार्मोन्स आर ऑल्सो प्रोव्हाइड लाईक एन्झाइम कॅलेज आणि हार्मोन्स कोणचं आहे? इंडोल ऍसिटिक ऍसिड IAA. इट ऑल्सो सिक्रेट द पोलन किट. पोलन ग्रेन्सला एक प्रोटेक्टिंग लेयर्स आहेत. This pollen kit is oily, sticky, covering of the lipids and carotenoids. They have also provided these tapetum's innermost protecting covering layer. And also secretions of the special proteins for pollen grain recognize the capability. ज्यावेळेस पोलन ग्रेन्स मॅच्युअर झालाय, इट इज रेडी फॉर ट्रान्सपोर्ट पॉलिनेशन्स टू द स्टिग्मा. They have also provide the special proteins, special food. Hence, it is also called as the nutritive layer. They have provided to the special nutritions. It is called as the nutritive layers. Okay, and They also provide the nutrition. Pollen grain, they get mature, these layers are degenerate. पोलन ग्रेनला न्यूट्रिशन्स प्रोव्हाइड केल्यानंतर ह्या सेलचा रोल संपला, ह्या लेअरचा रोल संपला आणि त्याच्यानंतर ही लेअर काय होते, डिजनरेट होते, डिस्ट्रॉय होते. म्हणजे राहिल्या कोणच्यात, फक्त दोन लेअर राहतील अँथर डेव्हलप झाल्यानंतर, एक एपिडर्मिस आणि दुसरी आहे एंडोथेशियन. आणि पोलन ग्रेन मॅच्युअर झालाय, दे आर सडनली ब्रेकडाऊन डेहिजन्स ऑफ द अँथर and pollen grains are removed into the anther wall. It is the four type of the anther wall, protecting covering layer. First, it is the epidermis. Second, it is the endothecium. Third, it is the middle layer, 2 to 3 layer of the parenchyma cells. It is also storage the nutritions. And last innermost layer, it is the tapetums. Okay, then next. Second type, pollen sac or microsporangiums. Pollen sacs are developed in anther, are developed hypodermal cell. Hypodermals are converted into archboreal cell, and archboreal cells divides mitotically to produce two cells. Outer primary parietal cells. These outer primary parietal cells are developed the protecting covering layer. And inner sporogenous cells. These sporogenous cells, it is the diploid, and these sporogenous cells divides meiotically. Sporogenous cells are also called as the pollen mother cells or microspore mother cells, divides meiotically to produce the 4 haploid microspore or pollen grain. Then these, it is the present in between pollen sac or microsporangia. Now see, it consists of diploid mother cell. It means the pollen mother cells, which on reductional division produces. Reductional divisions are also meiotic divisions. Reduction division हे meiotic divisions मध्येच होतोय ना, to produce 4 haploid pollen grain or microspore. This process are called as the microsporogenesis. And 4 pollen grains remains together called as the tetrad stage. 4 pollen grain, they are joined to each other. A single microspore mother cell divides meiotically to produce the 4 haploid pollen grain. It is called as the tetrad stage. And pollen grain germinate to form the male gametophyte and containing 2 male gametes. त्या पोलन ग्रेन मध्ये जर्मिनेशन झाल्यानंतर मेल गॅमेटोफाइट फॉर्मेशन होणार आहे आणि त्याच्यामध्ये 2 मेल गॅमेट्स आहे. हे आपल्याला नेक्स्ट व्हिडिओला बघायचं आहे, डेव्हलपमेंट ऑफ द मेल गॅमेटोफाइट्स मध्ये. It is the anther type like this. It is the complete present in pollen sac, microsporidium. Microsporidium मध्ये स्पोरोजिनस सेल्स आहेत. स्पोरोजिनस सेल्स म्हणजेच आहे स्पोर मदर सेल्स आहे किंवा पोलन मदर सेल्स आहे. दे आर डिवाइड्स मिओटिकली, रिडक्शन डिव्हिजन्स आहे, टू प्रोड्यूस 4 हॅप्लॉइड microspore or pollen grain. It is called as the tetrad conditions. It is also called as the male gametophyte, male gametes. जर्मिनेशनच्या वेळेस याच्यामध्ये 2 मेल गॅमेट्स आहेत एका पोलन ग्रेन मध्ये. लक्ष देत आहे टीएस ऑफ एंथर. द टीएस ऑफ एंथर divides in 2 parts. Anther wall, 4 pollen sacs. Anther wall, it is the outermost protecting covering layer. There are 4 layers: epidermis, endotheciums, middle layer, and tapetums. Middle layer and tapetum, it is the nutritive layer. Development of the spore, microspore, they are also provide the nourishment food. Tapetum, it is the provide the special proteins, enzymes, hormones are also provided. It is also known as the nutritive layer. These two layers are after provide the nutritive energy, and they degenerate, and only anther, epidermis and endotheciums are also present. Pollen grain, they get mature, endotheciums are break the wall. It is also known as the dehiscence of the anther or stomium. And in between pollen sac, spore mother cells presents, they are divided meiotically to produce 4 haploid pollen grain. It is the TS of anther. Okay, now this video are stop here, and next video will be studying development of the male gametophyte. It's also called as the microsporogenesis. Okay, thank you.